In the Home and Away exhibition, I'm going to be showing 3 works. One is called Bata Suci. It's an Indonesian, and the phrase translates to something like sacred boundary. And it's a phrase that I saw written on the steps of mosques when I was in Java, a place where it indicates like where you remove your shoes, and if it's on a step, and then on the step above, that's already the sacred space. And I just got a bit obsessed with this. Just got fascinated by where is this boundary between the sacred and the not sacred. The other painting I'm showing is called Basa-basi, Malkemana, another Indonesian title. Basa-basi translates something to like small talk or chit chat. And Malkemana means where are you going? And when I've lived in Indonesia, I sort of noticed myself looking back, noticed that I was really interested in language and what are the phrases that are used in conversation. The questions that you use as small talk or chit chat in Indonesia are a little bit different to what I was used to in Australia. Basa-basi phrases, small talk phrases, and noticing why they're used or how they're used, like being asked, oh, where do you come from? Small talk phrase. But I get asked a lot in Indonesia, more so than in Australia, and maybe more so than in Germany where I'm living. I started thinking, oh, actually, what's going on? People are just trying to acknowledge me, a stranger in the street, or people are just wanting to kind of reach out and connect somehow. So I decided to paint a few paintings with these basa-basi phrases paired with kind of surprising images. And one of them is going to be in Home and Away. And another painting, a new painting that I'm really excited to be showing in Home and Away is called Relations. And it's a very short story, just 1 sentence long. And it's another one that is about conversation, inspired by the kind of relationship of people that I know and the way they communicate with one another. I think there's something kind of a little bit funny and a little bit touching and a little bit also familiar with the way that they relate to one another. And yeah, when I paint, I'm painting moments that stand out to me or surprise me or catch my attention as something curious or something I don't quite understand or something that amuses me a little bit. So Basa-basi Malkemana, it depicts this phrase, Malkemana, where are you going? And it's repeated throughout the canvas. And then behind it or around it is the image of a bird. The bird has been also repeated. Sometimes like to do, which is to repeat an image and paint it from, for example, a photograph or a sketch, to hide this original image and just use the image I've created as the source for the next depiction of it. And then look at the most recent image I've made and repeat that. And then in that process, what I enjoy is that the image starts to morph or deteriorate or becomes abstracted. And for me, I've used this technique in a few different paintings, and for me, it kind of means something a bit different depending on the story or the words or the kind of subject of the rest of the painting. So at the end of the painting, if you're reading it in a kind of linear way, is Malkemana, 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 where are you going, where are you going, where are you going? And then there's an answer, and it's there, Kesana. But in Indonesian, this is this is a kind of suitable response if you're being asked, where are you going? And for example, you're on a walk and someone just calls out of where are you going? And you can say, oh, I'm going there. And you can just kind of gesture in the direction that you're going. And you know, people are often satisfied to hear that. So I wanted to depict that kind of interaction. The way relations came about was a bit different to how I normally work. So often I'm writing a story on my computer and I'm editing it and I'm trying to get the rhythm of the words right. Then when I'm mostly happy with it, I'll start painting it. And maybe the writing process is almost like the sketch for the painting. And then the painting is a very intuitive process where I don't really know what it's going to look like. Every time I add a detail or put a new image into the painting, then the painting kind of tells me what is the next step. And that's how I like to make the work. Whereas with the relations painting, it started off that I was just enjoying painting blobs on the canvas, and it was just like purely out of the enjoyment of this painting process of I was painting on the floor, and then the green blobs started to look like a hedge in a garden for me. Then I started having memories of the dynamic of these people I know around a hedge. But at the moment, I'm really enjoying exploring the language of painting, or what I can do with color and line and the texture of the paint that will help tell the story that is literally being told through the words, or maybe how the way that I'm painting tells a different story to the written story depicted on the same canvas. Things I like to play with how this meaning is made through how the text is written. Is it painted in a kind of handwriting, like in a diary? Is it shaped a bit like cursive writing? How big is it? How close does the audience need to come to the canvas for it to be legible? Does the audience need to like contort their body to read the text up the side or upside down? Recently, I was trying to finish a painting, and I heard myself asking myself, does the painting sing? And the other question was, does the painting make the eye dance? And this is also how I'm kind of constructing the painting, like for it to feel balanced, or thinking about how the eye is going to move across the image, and how the body also moves in response to the details. I also like to play with like the degree to which something is represented either in detail or abstracted. And that also kind of asks the viewer to move their body also towards or away or around the canvas. And again, how does the decision-making of abstraction contribute to the story? Like, is it a kind of blurring of the detail? And something I love to do is like zoom in on kind of memories that I have, or zoom in on small moments in kind of everyday encounters or life, and then often paint them really big. Other painters who inspire me, well, I have a confession. In art school, they were like, these are the painters you should look at. But I've had access to some amazing museums living in Europe, and I've seen some of these paintings like Gauguin and Bonnard and who was some others, Cézanne. But since I was at art school and also continuing now, I'm often really inspired by my peers and friends. So I get a lot out of visiting my friends' studios and looking closely at their work. Sometimes I notice I pick up mannerisms of my friends in the way I speak, or like the way I tilt my head when I laugh or something. I'm like, oh yeah, I think a friend of mine does that. Sometimes I'm making a painting and I can see, often it's subconscious influence of works that I've seen, or friends' works who I really admire. People who are not yet my friends, whose paintings also inspire me. Recently, I've really loved looking at the work of Rose Wiley, who's a British artist, and she often uses kind of fragments of text in her painting, and she's often painting scenes that she's seen in films. But I really love the kind of, it's an illusion of freeness in her painting, in the kind of of her brushstrokes and her paintings. And for her, they're really connected to memory and places she's immersed herself in. Also, like painting, walking down the street and seeing graffiti or smudges in the landscape, or scribbles and scrawls on the back of toilet doors, and people's failed attempts to remove them and painting a slightly different color over the top of graffiti on the side of a building. I'm wondering how all of the places that I've lived in have influenced what I'm making. But it is hard to kind of simmer it down to it was that place, because at the same time I'm having a lot of different experiences, and I don't think geography alone can answer that. It's also all the conversations I'm having with people or things I see. I'm often, at the moment, or the paintings I've made recently here in my studio in Berlin, the stories have been set in Indonesia and based on memories in Australia. I've been here 4 years, and only just now there are some kind of stories that are being influenced by things I've experienced or observed here. And some of the memories that I've been painting have been things from 10 years ago in Indonesia. There is something really kind of weird about that, like being in your studio and painting, like time traveling 10 years ago or however many years ago, and teleporting to the other side of the world, and you're painting humid, sweaty memories, and outside it's snowing. It's weird, but inspiration happens consciously and subconsciously. Maybe I'm like a little bit, I don't know, this word identity is like used in the art world, and maybe I'm like less interested in seeing it as identity. But in the context of like painting, I'm more interested in how experiences shape us. And also, I see the painting's a bit like not saying something about my identity, but an expression of my personality. It's open to other people's assumptions of what that is. And that's really cuts up room for nuance and complexity somehow. Home. That was the other question. What are my thoughts on home? I mean, again, it's like another lifelong question, and feeling welcomed into many places or contexts. This studio is like my universe. Yeah, I'm not sure how I think about it, if it's like place or people. I don't know.